Hello, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today for the Nobl9 webinar, Fast Track to SLOs with Nobl9. My name is Jeremy Cooper. I'm a solutions engineer here at Nobl9. And today I'll be walking you through the product, helping you understand how Nobl9 can help you get up and running with SLOs very quickly. I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of slides today. So the next slide actually is the demo. So what that means is I'm going to move into the demo and we'll get started right away. And I'm going to hop over to the Nobl9 platform. So what we're looking at right here is the integrations page on Nobl9. Nobl9 has two types of integrations. There's one that's called an integration source or a data source, and the other that is called an alert method. So the sources, the data sources are the inbound path, the alert methods are the outbound path. We try to be tool agnostic here at Nobl9. We understand that people have data in a variety of places nowadays. There really isn't a one tool that meets all needs. People sometimes use one tool for APM. They may have a little bit of Prometheus in there to get some specialized metrics. If you're in the cloud, you're going to have some metrics coming from GCM or AWS, a variety of places that your metrics may lie. And we want to be able to bring that together for you into one place. I haven't ran into a customer yet that only has metrics in Datadog or only has metrics in AppD or something like that. Metrics tend to be spread out all over the place. And that's the reason that we offer the ability to ingest data from over 20 different data sources. And we're continuing to expand that. We're constantly adding new data sources based on where the market is shifting, because we want our users to be able to get that data into Nobl9 and have Nobl9 be the one place where you're able to track your reliability no matter what the SLI is. We do this by having an agent or a direct connection. So you can have a direct connection, in which case we're running the agent in our SaaS backend for you. We keep your keys vaulted. We make the API calls to the data source and we ingest your data. Or you can run a localized agent, in which case you're running the either Kubernetes or Docker container. You configure it with the YAML file or the Docker runtime, and then you host it in your environment. In my experience, most of our users, they prefer the direct connection because they don't want the burden of having to manage an agent, make sure that the agent gets updated. They'd rather give us that burden, and we're okay to accept that. So we'll run the agents, make the API calls, and bring the data into Nobl9. For all of our data sources here that I mentioned, we actually are using their native APIs and we're using their native query languages. So if you have users who are familiar with Datadog, you don't have to learn a new Nobl9 query language to get that data in. You simply put your Datadog query into Nobl9, and then we bring back that single metric value. And it's the same for all of these data sources. We support PromQL, we support Splunk query language, we support Oracle. All of the different tools are using the native query language. And for CloudWatch, we even allow you to get the data in a variety of ways, JSON, SQL, et cetera. So that's sort of the inbound methods of getting data into Nobl9. A lot of people don't necessarily want to stare at a screen all day. I think we're all familiar with that situation, which is why we have alerting. And those are the outbound methods of Nobl9. We support a variety of methods there as well, from Discord to PagerDuty to ServiceNow to, I'm sure a lot of people have Slack on their desktop right now that's distracting them from the demo. But all of those things are ways that you can send alerts out of Nobl9. But my favorite is actually the fully customizable webhook that we have. And with that fully customizable webhook, you're actually able to trigger automation. So you can customize the webhook however you want. You can leverage it to go, any place that accepts a webhook. You can customize the JSON, you can add custom headers. So pretty much you can send this alert anywhere, and you can have this alert trigger anything in your environment. whether it be spinning up something new, spinning something down, triggering a message to cease deployments in your pipeline. There are a variety of ways that you can leverage this fully customizable webhook. But as you can see here, custom headers and fully customizable JSON is available. So it'll pretty much work with anything you need it to work with. So that's it for the inbounds and outbounds. But now I'd like to talk about like configuring an SLO with the data that you're bringing into to Nobl9. And for that, I want to hop over to a new tool that we have, which is called SLI Analyzer. It's in a public beta right now. We have a number of customers that are getting a lot of value from it. And I actually think it's pretty awesome. It's something you don't see too many places. What it allows you to do is execute a query on your data source and bring in some historical data. So I already brought in this data, but once you bring the data in, you can actually play with it and use it to help figure out where your SLO should be. So to give you a little background, what I did here is I have a New Relic data source. I have a query from a synthetics that's measuring some latency, and I brought in 24 hours worth of data. You can bring in up to 30 days worth of data, but for this example, I just did 24 hours to make it simple. What we do when we get that data is we do some analysis on it. And so we'll actually tell you what value you need to be at in order to hit 3 nines of reliability over this time period, or to hit 2 nines of reliability. And if you notice, the difference between 3 nines and 2 nines is significant, right? Exponential difference between 2 and 3 nines in an environment. But what we've done here is now you can look and see if someone tells you, okay, we need 3 lines of reliability at 4,000 milliseconds. You could look at this and you could easily see without looking at the chart, that's not possible, because in order to reach 2 nines of reliability, you would need to be at 51 milliseconds. And so what we could do is I could put that in here and I could do 51. We could do analysis. Takes a few seconds because we're doing all these calculations on it, and you'll actually be able to see what the reliability burn down would have looked like over a particular period of time. Right now, it was set for a target of 95%, but we could bump that up to 99%, which is what I thought it was on. My bad, I think I was playing with it earlier. But it's going to do that recalculation, and what you'll see is it's literally right hitting that zero, that sweet spot of using up all your error budget in a time window. It's off by 36 seconds, but cut us some slack, right? So this is a great way of setting up your SLOs without actually creating a real SLO. You can come in here, you can play around with it. You can see the standard deviation down here, so you can actually see how many of each particular time value was coming in. It's a really cool tool that you don't see in anywhere else that I'm actually aware of. And once you've done that, then you can actually create your SLO right from here. So there are 2 ways of doing it. Everything in Nobl9, take that back, 99.9% of the things in Nobl9, you can either do with SLOs as code by some YAML file configurations or in the UI. So I'll show you in the UI first, and then we'll look at the YAML configuration. So I can actually click here, create SLO, and it takes me into the Nobl9 SLO widget. From here, I would put it in the service that I wanted this SLO to go into. For context, we group our SLOs by project at the top level. That's usually where RBAC takes place. And then service, which usually relates to a customer experience. And then within that customer experience, you may have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different SLOs that are all related. And I'll show you how we display that a little bit later on. But as you can see here, this SLO is basically pre-filled with the information from the SLI analysis that we just did. So if I wanted to create an SLO, I could actually just go down here, give the objective a name. We'll just call it test, just for fun right now. We'll just we'll say, okay. Give it a name, fill this in. I just need to be able to click to the next tab, so that's why I type that in. And then you can actually go over here and create your SLO once you've given the SLO a name. I'll come back to composite SLOs and some of the other things on this page, but we do have alert policies, and this is where you can assign alert policies as well. So that would be creating the SLO using the SLO wizard. But you can actually create SLOs via YAML. So here you can click on this, and it actually gives you the YAML that you need in order to create your SLO. And it's reminding you that you need to replace the SLO name, the project name, and the service name, because we're not sure what you want to call those. But other than that, we've given you all of the information based on how you were configuring this SLI analysis. So I can take this, I can copy it, and this is somewhat of, it's realistic, but every company has their own processes, so this might not be how you would exactly do it at your company. But I can take that YAML, I can come over here to my CI/CD pipeline. We have a GitHub integration. We can also work with a variety of other pipeline tools for deployment. I could come in here. In theory, I could add it to this file and add another SLO, but I'm just going to do it standalone. I can come in here and say, okay, let's give this SLO a name. We'll call it Yahoo latency. I'm going to put this in the external project. And then we need to give it a service, and we'll just call it Yahoo. But as you can see here, there's a very nice Kubernetes-like YAML format for SLOs. And you could actually, if you wanted to make another SLO, you could clone this or copy this YAML, make minor changes to it, and then move forward and create the other SLO. So I think, let me just double check. Yeah, okay. So we can do that. We can take this, we can commit it. Hopefully I didn't make any little typos in there. And it will actually trigger our GitHub action, which is going to push this SLO up to Nobl9, assuming I didn't make any typos. Let's see what happens. Live demos are always fun. Oh, there we go. Resources successfully created. All right. Okay, cool. Now I knew it would work, but we've actually created an SLO using the YAML, using SLOs as code. So now if we come back over here to Nobl9, I'm going to go in our catalog just so you can kind of get an idea of the organization. Here are a variety of projects that we have. I added that one to the external project. There's the Yahoo service with one new SLO latency. I actually spelled it wrong, but we'll pretend we didn't see that. And within a few minutes, we'll have some data coming in from this new SLO. So that's how easy it is to actually get up and going with SLOs fast, which was the name of this webinar, right? So we give you the ability to bring in data from any data source, fine tune your SLO with your own real data, and then using code, create SLOs instantly. And once you get formalized, you can actually make that SLO be part of your regular workflow. You can put it next to your application. You can put it somewhere else. So it'll be a minute, and then some data will come in. But let's move on, and I'll explain that page that we were looking at with an SLO that actually has some data in it. There are a couple of places in Nobl9 where you can view SLOs. I like to go to the service health dashboard, and this is a place where you can actually get a high-level view of your environment. There's a lot of red in here right now. I have a lot of SLOs that probably need to be reconfigured. They're exhausted. But here you can see the projects. This is a portal project, the mobile project, and so on. And then within those projects, there are services. And these services have a number of SLOs in them. So for this particular Amex one, we can now see that this service turns yellow because the latency is under 20%. It's running out of error budget. So it's in warning right now. We could click on that. We could come in here. This is a 1 hour rolling, so it has a really tight window. But you can see here, it burned some error budget, or it violated the threshold, and that's what triggered it to burn some error budget on the OK objective. Stepping back, this is the details page. At the top is the SLI, what we're bringing in from the data source. By default, we show it at the P95 value. You can see here about every minute, we're pulling in metrics from the data source. That's your SLI. Below that, we display the reliability burn down. In this case, there's actually multiple objectives. So 98% reliability at 1580, 99% at 1750, 3 nines at 2000 milliseconds. So you can actually have multiple objectives for an SLO. And then at the bottom, you can actually see the error budget burn rate that is calculated based on the SLO objective and the threshold and the value. So that's pretty much everything of your SLO. We keep this data for 2 years. So if you wanted to go back and view the previous month's worth of data or more, you can do that. And then let's say we want to see what happened here, you can click on that, and then you can actually zoom in. So we're not freezing the data. It's very accessible, and you can access it quickly if you wanted to go to a specific time. Then, specific time, then you could click there and you could go to the particular time window that you were looking for. On the right-hand side, we have a lot of metadata about this particular SLO. You can see the project, the service, the name. This is how you know it's a rolling 1 hour time window. And then here you can see the error budget objectives. This one's coming from Lightstep, and it's being collected every 2 minutes. Now, this link right here is actually kind of interesting, and it's something that we allow you to fully customize with your SLOs. You can actually click on this, and you can set it up to actually take you to the data source. So you could hop right into Lightstep and look at the problem, or you could hop into whatever tool, whatever URL you wanted to go to, and dig deeper on that root cause. You could link to a run book, you could link to the actual web page that might be having a problem, a variety of ways that you could leverage that link. Okay, let me step back. Someone had a question that sidetracked me. So I've shown you the detail page. I'm going to pause. I'm going to glance at this question. Each of the releases have its own data stream. How can Nobl9 query the right data across different streams? So we actually have, when you set up Nobl9, we have different integrations for each data source, right? So if you're using Prometheus, then you're going to choose the query, the PromQL query that you want to bring in the data. So, for example, if we're grabbing, I don't know if I have a kit on in here. So if we're grabbing Prometheus, that's a bad one, no data, but this is the prom query. So the data source will actually knows how to query this particular data because it's PromQL. If you have an SLO that's based in New Relic, you saw the Nurple. If you're using SLOs that are based in Lightstep, Lightstep uses metric IDs. So we'd be grabbing the data type and then the stream ID for Lightstep. So it really varies. To your point, it varies by data source, but we're only bringing in the data that you choose for SLI. We're not bringing in all of the data from that particular data source. And that's why we're actually able to keep it for 2 years, because we're only collecting the data that you've deemed to be an SLI, which in most cases is also known as KPI. So hopefully that answers your question about how we're able to get data from the different schemas. And we're leveraging the native APIs for those tools. So we're querying it in a format that they're used to and they know how to accept. All right. So now that you've seen data coming into Nobl9, when something goes wrong, you might want to look at the alerting, right? Or you don't want to stare at the screen. You want to be alerted. You want to be notified, so that you're not always sitting here staring at Nobl9. The less you look at Nobl9, the better, right? We have a couple of different alert conditions that we support. The first looks at when your error budget will be exhausted. So it's sort of a proactive alert condition based on a trend. So based on the way it's been trending for the past hour, minute, seconds, it's been trending such that, or burning error budget such that it will be exhausted in the next 3 days or the next 5 hours, so that you can proactively alert yourself that your error budget is starting to disappear rapidly. The second one looks at the remaining error budget. This is the one that I think is really cool because it's simple, everyone gets it, and it's one that you can actually send to both the business and the developers, so that they're speaking a common language. Right? You're not talking about a particular SLI or some metric, a Datadog or a PalmQL query. You're actually talking about how much error budget do we have left. Okay, we got the warning, we're down to 20% error budget. Let's talk about how we want to move forward. Do we want to continue with these new feature releases? Do we want to focus on reliability? Do we just want to put everything on hold? What should we do? But it's a much easier conversation now that everyone's just talking about this error budget and protecting the error budget for customer reliability. So I think this one actually just adds a lot of value to the SLO conversation. The third one, it actually is looking at the error budget burn rate. You could say for the past 5 minutes, it's been trending at 10x, right? And then let me know that we're experiencing a quick burn of error budget. The error budget burn rate alert, the rapid error budget burn rate, that's typically one that people want to get their engineers involved or the development team involved so they can get out there and fix it. But those are the 3 types of alerts. We do have a cooldown period, so we make sure that we're not re-alerting you if something, it doesn't really clear for 5 minutes. So if it clears and then goes right back, it's still considered the same event within Nobl9. We don't want to spam you with alerts. Again, you see projects, alerting name, but what I did want to show you is you support severities so that when we send that alert to another tool, it can actually process it. So if you send an alert as a high, then PagerDuty will know, oh, I need to page these people. But if you send it as a low, then maybe PagerDuty only emails or Slacks those people. So we're trying to pass the information along in the most usable format to the other tools or for the alert methods. We support labels, so you'll notice here, you can label alerts, you can label SLOs, and these are very similar to the labels that you might see in AWS. So you could say, this alert is for availability SLOs, and then you could just do that and save it. So that's setting up alerts within Nobl9. The goal of SLOs is actually to reduce alerting. That's one of the main goals, right? To let you know when things are truly actionable and when they're truly impacting your customers. And so that's what we want to enable you to do with the alert policies for your SLOs. All right, so we talked about alerting, we talked about SLI Analyzer. I do want to show you the SLO grid view. This is one of the other views that we have in Nobl9 aside from the Service Health dashboard. You can come over here, and no matter what your data source is, what the SLI is, we're going to show you the reliability burn down, the error budget remaining, and the burn rate. And again, this is where labels come into play. So if I wanted to just come here and say, oh, I want to see all of my Datadog SLOs that have been tagged with Datadog, then I could do that. And now this has refreshed. You could use labels to group things for various teams if you wanted to, in addition to using projects to group teams. But now I've been able to filter the list to just the SLOs that I wanted to see right now. And again, no matter what the data source is, it will show up in the reliability burn down, error budget remaining, and the current burn rate. All right, so I did mention that we do keep the data for 2 years. We have reporting that you can leverage to view that data. We actually plan on adding some really cool things to reporting soon, so look out for that. But you can come in here and you can say, I want to see a report on the mobile project, and we'll show you these SLOs all on one page. You can see how they performed in the past month. If we wanted to zoom out, we could zoom out to in the past quarter. I think I made these SLOs. Okay, yeah, they're the past quarter. So it's really easy to just see how things have been performing. In addition to this view, you can go to the SLO error budget status, and right here you can see how much error budget is remaining for each of the SLOs. You can see what the time window is, the targets, etc. you want to, you can export, download this. You can use it to have discussions in meetings. If you wanted to dig deeper from here, then you can, and it actually just pulls out the details page right now, and you can see what's going on. On this particular page, you'll notice these little gray gears here. This means that an alert was fired. We call this an annotation. We have annotations throughout Nobl9. Alerts automatically create an annotation so that you can see who was notified. You know that something happened at this particular time. You can also manually create annotations or create them via API. So if I wanted to, I could click there and I could just say, new release and add the annotation, and it would pop up. Most of our customers, they actually use the API that we have in order to create new annotations so that when they do a release, then there'll be an annotation right here that there was a new release. So then it's very easy for you to look and see if there was a change in the behavior of the SLI or the SLO right after you made this new release. Were you helping things? Were you making things better? Or did it actually make things worse, right? That's what you're really concerned with. So that's one of the great ways that you can use annotations within Nobl9. Let's see, we talked about Service Health Dashboard. We went into a catalog. We looked at the SLO grid view. We discussed SLI Analyzer. We talked about alerting within Nobl9, reporting, and then also the integrations. In regards to the settings, we do allow you to manage your users. There are RBAC controls, and we do support SSO. So if you want to manage, instead of creating your users manually, leverage SSO to manage who has access to Nobl9. That is something that is possible as well. So with that, I really hope that you guys have a better understanding of how quick and easy it is to get started with Nobl9, how you can get up and running, how even if you're not sure what your SLO settings or thresholds should look like, you can leverage SLI Analyzer to do that. You can take that YAML, you can hop into the SLO wizard, and you can actually be up and running with SLOs in a couple of minutes. It's really easy, and I think it will give you much better visibility into your environment in regards to reliability, leveraging Nobl9. And it just makes it easy to manage your SLOs. Are there any other questions?
Jeremy, we have a question in the Q&A chat function. I don't know if you saw it.
If it's the one from Muhammad, I already spoke to that. Okay. Is there another one?
No, that's the one.
Oh, I was like, okay, let me answer live. There we go. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't clear it. Hopefully I answered your question, Muhammad. If there aren't any other questions, then I'll sort of move over to my my conclusion slides here. Talk about some next steps for you guys, give you guys an assignment. The next step, if you're not with OutSystems, who's already a Nobl9 customer, is to go sign up for a free account at Nobl9 and start playing around with SLOs. We have some tutorials there to help you get started. And if you do get stuck, you can reach out for help. And then we also are part of a great SLO community. We have something called SLO Comp. That just happened. That may be why some of you are here. But in addition to the annual SLO Comp that we have a monthly edition. And it's, again, a no sales environment, but it's where people who are using SLOs at their company or freelance SLOs, some people actually do that, they all come together and just talk about experiences that they've had, things that they've learned, challenges they've faced. And so that's another great way to just learn more about SLOs and reach out to people with a like interest. So the link is there, the meetup. There's also a QR code. I'm going to switch the screen, but there'll be another QR code, actually a couple of QR codes that you can leverage if you want to take some pictures with your phone. So in addition to the SLO Conf monthly, there's an SLO Conf Twitter where you can just come and see mostly memes about SLOs, but you can also get some useful information and find out about new features or new, I guess, shifts in the SLO culture at large. And then there's also an SLO conference Slack channel where you can come and you can immediately chat with other people in the community. So again, I thank you guys for joining today. Hopefully I covered everything that you wanted to see within Nobl9. If not, I'll give you one last chance to ask in the Q&A. I think the one thing I did leave out, now that I think about it, is that it is possible to export data out of Nobl9. You can export it to Snowflake, an S3 bucket, or GCP. I don't remember the entirety of the schematics, but it is possible to export data from Nobl9 as well. So if you wanted to leverage it for your own usage, then that's something that you can do with the tool if you're an enterprise customer. But with that, I guess I'll wrap things up. I'll sit around for a couple minutes just in case any questions pop up. But thank you for joining today. And again, I hope you were able to get the information that you were looking for about Nobl9 and SLOs in general.